My name is Yasmin. I am kind of a recent graduate from Biomedical Sciences, and I'm a premed. I studied biomed at Ryerson, and the only reason I chose it was because I wasn't decided on which career path I wanted to get into. So all I knew is I wanted to do sciences, and medicine was always at the back of my mind. So I wasn't one of those that I early on from a young age, I knew what I wanted to do and wanted to become a doctor. So I chose sciences and I got into biomedical science at Ryerson. I wanted to stay home. That's another reason I went to Ryerson. I didn't know that that was a passion of mine earlier when I got into Ryerson for biomedical sciences. It would actually I had to take a psych course as part of my degree actually first year, and I was just hooked. So that was my ignition to minor in psychology, and mental health has been something that I see through my studies. Obviously, I got more familiar with that, how a lot of people struggle with it, and especially like coming from my culture, how it's such a taboo topic and not a lot of people talk about it and not a lot of people seek help for it. I don't know, I always had that personality to like stand up for people, so it was just that taboo topic and the commonality of it, I guess, made me very interested in like advocating for it, I guess, and just studying more and reading more. Getting into medical school in Canada is a very, very tough process. So if you don't know, not to discourage anyone, but if you're in my position and if you don't know what you want to do early on, it might even get tougher. And I'm just speaking in terms of grades, extracurricular, anything else. And the process is very, very competitive. I left the door open to applying abroad, and that was just my personal choice. Not a lot of I have friends who are writing the MCAT for the third time or applying for the third cycle just because they want to stay in Canada. To me, that wasn't such a deal breaker to go out abroad. It was actually because I chose to stay at home for my undergrad. I was actually excited to go and get like independent. I applied to Ireland. A lot of Canadian students actually do that, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But I applied last cycle. But then I also decided to apply to US medical schools and the Caribbean medical schools. And I'm also considering applying to Europe in case none of these happen. I'm just like leaving every door open. Requirements and documents and stuff like that, it's pretty similar. You need letters of recommendation, you need your MCAT. If you're trying to go to, I think they call it graduate entry. So that's first you need your bachelor, and then you also need MCAT. But if you don't have the MCAT, I do believe that they have an option of like doing it in 5 years instead of 4. So not doing the MCAT is not such a deal breaker as it is in Canada and the US. And so yeah, MCAT, letters of recommendation, your transcript, your personal statement, that's very important. And I believe that's about it. I mean, I remember like working on my personal statement for 3 months. Like bought a lot of books, like just reading examples, how to write them, what to write, what to focus on, what not to focus on. A lot of people just say things like, oh yeah, I love sciences, I want to help people. That's never enough. And it's like, as the name suggests, it's your personal story. So it has to have that personal touch into it. But yeah, it's just, it takes a lot of time, and you have to like ask in advance for your references. And that's another thing for your references. You have to know your profs because they teach a lot of people. They're not going to know who you are, and they're not going to write you a strong letter if they don't know you on a personal level. So that's another thing that I suggest people doing, is that going to office hours, asking questions in lectures, or emailing professors using office hours and all that stuff, like just to show your face, show that you're eager to learn, show that you care. So they would be able to comment on things like your ability to be resourceful, your determination, academics, your personality. I mean, it depends on which school you go to. I mean, again, if you go to, because there's a big reputation of Irish medical schools for Canadian students, and they have this agreement between Canada and Ireland. Supposedly the door is open, but as soon as you become an international graduate, your path is automatically more difficult. And the only reason is that in Canada, the spots are very, very limited in terms of residency, and priorities are given to home students who went to Canadian medical schools. Again, it just depends on the specialty that you're trying to get into, how competitive is that, how many seats do they have, and stuff like that. But the door is open. Same thing with if you want to go and practice in the US. But I mean, in the US, it's a different story because they have so many more schools and so many more spots available. I remember before I decided that I might not be coming back to Canada, it was just such a stress and such a burden on you that, like, oh my God, what if it doesn't happen? What am I gonna do? Like, how awful it's gonna be. But it is not going to be awful, and it's your personal choice. Like, to me, it's not a big deal if I don't get to come back to Canada. Yeah. I mean, I like a long time ago when I was in undergrad, I did apply to volunteer in a hospital just because you get to see firsthand what the environment is and how's it like, especially if you do have an experience from a different healthcare system. It will help you just to have an idea in terms of like, how are they alike, how are they different, and it just gives you perspective. So I definitely recommend volunteering in a hospital. Research is another big thing that a lot of people say that you have to have it. I mean, you don't have to have it. It will look good on your resume, and it's just the idea that you put in the effort, you put in the hours, you showed interest, and you tried new things and different things. If you do have that experience, you can talk about it, that maybe although it was very interesting, it was not the path for you. You find it more satisfying and rewarding to be at the front line and stuff like that. Like, you can volunteer at a shelter, you can just volunteer at a food bank, you can anywhere that is some sort of meaningful helping people experience. It will look good. And another thing is, you can, if there's no opportunities, if there's nothing for you to do at the moment, you can create your own opportunities. So yeah, leadership, that's another thing that they want to look for, because as a physician, you need to be a team player and a leader at the same time. So yeah, anything that can showcase your ability to work with people, your passion for helping people, and leadership, it would come in handy. The only advice I would have is manage your time and get involved in as many things as you can. Like, the quantity is not important, quality over quantity all the time. But like, for me, I was never part of any sports team in my school. I was never part of any club in my school. And I personally regret that, not only because that's something that medical school or any grad school looks for in any applicant, but just it's like an experience that I never had. I was always like, just like going to class, going to office hours, going home. It was never, I was not involved on campus. And again, it's not particularly for pre-med students, it's for any pre-grad student, I guess, or anyone who wants to make their undergraduate experience more memorable. Just get more involved on campus. I think a lot of people just want to go to medicine without actually understanding how demanding the school and the life afterward is. Just be familiar with that. Like, after medical school, it's you're not done. Like, your personal life probably is gonna suffer. your goals in life, that like, oh, like having children, again, it depends on like what specialty you go to, what your priorities are, and all that stuff. But medicine as a field, like in general, it's a demanding field and requires a lot of sacrifices, and it's not an easy path. Just make sure that, because it would be, not that there's anything wrong with it, but like for you to like go to medical school and start practicing, and 10 years down the line you'd be like, no, this is not it. Like, by all means, if that's not it, realize it and change your path right there. It's better than going all your life doing something that you don't like and be miserable. But just know what you're getting yourself into.